So their audition process was very lean compared to the actual job, because really, like, there were studio segments, and they were very written and very kind of tightly, they were very locked down. There wasn't a lot of room for someone like me to be creatively expressive in the studio, and that was a different kind of, it was intimidating, and it was, I don't think that I was as natural with that at first as the other stuff. The other stuff I felt really a lot more comfortable, a lot faster, but still not comfortable at first. The first assignment I had was, there was a guy, TSA had put out their list of their no-fly list, and there was a guy on the no-fly list. He had the most banal name. Like, his name was like Dave Smith. I can't remember. His name was Dave something. I don't remember his last name, but it was like Dave Smith, and was on this TSA no-fly list. So this guy in Sioux Falls, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, was having so much trouble flying. And I mean, it was such a small story, but we were profiling this like dangerous man in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So we flew, it was like 3 flights to get to Sioux Falls. I just knew nothing about the job. It was like, this segment had been intended for Stephen Colbert or something like that. And he was like, by that time, I mean, he really had created the role of the correspondent on the show. That really was his. So he absolutely, and rightly so, got to pick and choose things, and was like, I am not going to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Like, I don't have to do that anymore. I don't have to get on 3 flights. Why don't you let this one do it? And so, and I was like, okay, I don't fly that much. So I went with a producer, and that producer was relatively new too, and he had been a 60 Minutes producer, so super serious, not excited to be on the road with me whatsoever, because it's, well, you're doing it right now. It's really a skill to interview someone and to listen and to engage in a conversation that feels natural on camera. It's something that you have to learn. It's not supernatural. You do have to learn how to do it. It's its own skill set. So I was truly terrible. I was really bad at it, because, you know, it's like you're trying to accomplish so many things all at once. You're interacting with a real person who, like, is a 3-dimensional human being, not just a comedy prop. You know, a lot of times people do function as comedy props in our faces, but they are real people with a life, and they bring their own history to it, so you cannot predict what they're going to say or how they're going to react to you. So you're not only kind of trying to make them calm in the situation and trying to, like, bring the best out of them, you're trying to have a conversation. You need to listen to the things they want to tell you so that you can follow them down a path. If you go down too far of a path, you have to bring them back to the subject at hand. And on top of all of that, we were putting jokes on it. We were adding jokes to that mix. So, and then not only do you go into these pieces very prepared with a kind of like a desired trajectory, a bunch of jokes you're going to try, and my head was really spinning. Like, your head spins because you're like, what's he saying? No, he's not saying what I want him to say. What's next on my list of things I got to do? And then I got to do a joke. So it was very stilted. And I had this 60 Minutes guy, like, yelling. So he's guiding, he's producing the segment, sort of yelling at me and trying to get me to listen. There was a lot of interaction between the two of us. It was terrible. It was terrible. And then part of one of the jokes that we did was that I would sneak a giant dildo through airport security at the Sioux Falls airport. So I had a giant... Anyways, so we bought a dildo that was this long and this thick and purple, and it just looked like it was like a gummy worm, but with 2 penis heads on either side. And I put it in my tote bag, and I was like, okay, We knew that it wouldn't get through in a suitcase. We wanted to really see it. So I hung it out of the back of my tote bag so that it was just like bouncing through the airport. And we were kind of filming it secretly because you can't just film in airports. So there were just like a lot of elements to this piece that were wildly intimidating. And that was my first story. I don't think it wasn't very funny. Ultimately, it wasn't a super successful piece. I look like I'm in physical and spiritual hell. I look like I'm doing an impression of, I want to say Morticia Addams. Like, I'm look so serious. I just look grim. Like, I am not having fun. But one of the things, if I may, one of the things that they liked about me and the reason they hired me at The Daily Show was because I looked like a reporter who was just busted. Do you know what I mean? Like, just like someone, and they told me that after. They were like, you seem like a reporter who's like, just been through stuff. You just seem like you've been through hell. And I'm like, well, I'll take it.